This is Fut-Afrique channel, and I am Christophe Bongo. I am with Brian Mofokeng. I don't know when did you watch part 1. This is part 2 of my conversation with Brian. Part 2 is all about Africa. Brian, I'm very happy. I'm very chuffed that I don't care if a team gets banned, that we got 3 in our group. I was just happy that we qualify for African Cup of Nations. Are you feeling it as well?
You sound like some neighbor of mine who went like, no. We are not there in the politics of them being knocked out. We qualified.
No, we qualified. I was just happy that we qualified.
Yeah.
And geez, I think we've done almost 7 or 8 African Cup of Nations together.
Yeah.
And it is weird when South Africa is not part of it. You feel like the tournament is not there. Man, listen, it is my country, so I love seeing my team play.
We get psyched up nonetheless, Chris.
Yes,
we always find ways just to say, you know what, we're
so
going to do
how
this.
are you feeling? Listen, we needed to qualify in the group of 3, and we did qualify. So that is a plus. What was your feeling?
I tell you, the feeling was great for me when we played against Morocco in a return leg.
Well, it was the only game that we needed.
But I mean, at the FNB Stadium against Morocco, who are still on a high after having qualified and actually finishing in a top 4 in the World Cup.
Yeah.
You know, nobody gave South Africa a chance on the day. You know, and it was a very emotional weekend.
And Morocco wanted to prove.
You know, Morocco wanted to prove that, you know, we're not there by fluke.
And everybody was there. It's not like they came with a B team. They came with
they came with a very strong team. They actually only Amrabat and Cohen, but the rest of the pack were there. You know, and it was a very emotional week for South Africa because it was also the weekend where Clive Barker passed away.
Yeah. Did you comment in that game?
Yes, I did a comment in that game. You know, and there was a celebration that came from Le Passa during the aeroplane celebration.
Ici France.
Yeah, you know, c'est France. You know,
that was the year I retired from football, 1997.
Yeah. So, you know, when that happened, and it happened at the same venue where South Africa qualified for the first FIFA for the first Real World Cup in 1998, where Phil Masinga scored a goal from Dr. Kumar after intercepting the ball. You know, so it was a very emotional day from all of us who had followed the beautiful game to actually see that befitting farewell to a man that has done so much for South Africa.
Was the emotion the end when you are closing? Because often what you do when you do commentary, you take something like a minute where you go through the game itself and then you close. So that way you start feeling the emotion.
You realize how important that victory was. And you realize just how big the beautiful game is. Because it is one that does not really worry about your creed, your race, your wealth, your family
just your country
background.
To be qualified.
It's just about you being there and being part of the whole euphoria. And euphoria was absolutely brilliant on the day.
Do you think the essence of a national team in today's football is still strong?
It is.
Because we have a lot of football to be played, huh?
If you watch the debate around players not being selected into the national team by supporters of different teams, you realize how important it is for you to be there. Because one, by virtue of being a part of the national team, it means your value increases, that's one. Number 2, it therefore also allows you a chance to probably be spotted.
But I was talking about us, the public, that essence of your national team playing. I know we will have a conversation another day about why South Africa is different compared to other African countries when we come to when we come to national team. We'll talk about it, but today it is just, do you think there is still that thing of my national team is playing in football?
It is there not.
Okay.
Tell you the reason why.
No, we'll go to a reason, but I just wanted to, we'll have a full show for that. So I want us to go to this. So the qualifier is happening. We qualified. We will be in Cote d'Ivoire. So I think every single South African must start learning a bit word of French. And they have your passports. Actually, it is one of the easiest things you get in South Africa. It is the passport. Yeah. So other African countries, it takes a long time for you to get a passport. In South Africa, go to Home Affairs, you'll get your passport. So it is good. So we know who is where. Now I'm looking at here. I start thinking, I am South African, so who are we going to be playing against? So we're in pot 3.
Yeah.
Why?
The rankings.
Okay.
That is the rank. You know, the rankings plays a huge role. So remember, South Africa is amongst those countries that are not in the top 10
Why?
bracket because of performance over the years. So you therefore find yourself losing out on a space in a top 10 bracket. You know, your number one is always going to be, you know, your Senegal is always going to be sitting on top because of their performance. Morocco is sitting there amongst
So we're in top, we're in the pot 3 because of our ranking.
Because of our ranking, and it's also if you look at the performances of
In
countries
AFCON.
in AFCON, previous AFCONs and all of that. So we find ourselves sitting in a different.
So it is important to perform well, even during the friendlies and everything.
It is important.
So that your ranking can be in a position where when the draws come about, or tournament comes about, you are well ranked.
It is indeed.
Okay, so let's go in pot 1.
Pot 1, you have the host nation, Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire. You know, they are sitting on pot 1. They've got Morocco there.
They are sitting there because they're the host.
They're the host nation.
Okay.
They're sitting in pot 1.
Okay.
Then you have Morocco, Senegal, Tunisia, Algeria, and Egypt.
Listen, when you go to a tournament, by the way, you are sitting there not as a football analyst. I want us to be biased. So we are sitting here as South Africans, right?
Yeah.
So when we look at this group, as South African, who don't you want to meet? So we call this show bias show. So.
You know, firstly, you don't want to play the host nation.
Okay.
You don't want to play the host nation first of all.
Okay, so we left with 5.
You know, Senegal have become a very cagey team to play against for South Africa.
So you shouldn't meet Senegal.
You don't want to meet because Senegal at the moment are at the highest.
Because I'm creating our group already. I'll speak to my friend from CAF. Say, listen, this is our wish list. Okay, Morocco.
Maybe you'll want to play Morocco because they played a few matches against Morocco.
Oh, now they know we are, Brian. They know our weaknesses.
You know what, Chris? I say. Listen, if you don't have Senegal, you don't have Cote d'Ivoire, you're facing all 4 Maghreb region countries. The other 4.
Oops.
You have Tunisia, you've got Algeria, you've got Egypt.
I did not even realize that. Basically, Africa, CAF ranking is dominated by
the Maghreb region.
That is sad. We have Morocco in pot 1, Tunisia, Algeria, and Egypt. The only 2 other non-Maghrebian it is Cote d'Ivoire because they're the host nation, and Senegal because they're the defending champion. Yeah. So you, in the North Africans, you don't want to face Algeria, you don't want to face Egypt, and you don't want to face Tunisia. But remember, when the last time we were in AFCON, we beat Tunisia. We beat Egypt.
Yes. But it was in the last 16 round.
Yeah, but we beat them.
They were the host nation. So that's what I'm saying. If you look at it now, from where I'm sitting, Chris, you need to get a team or a country that you know you can probably get a point
So you
off.
put Morocco.
Maybe Tunisia will be the easiest.
No, I want you to choose one. Morocco.
I'll say Tunisia.
Tunisia.
Tunisia, most of the time, will look to get a draw, a win and a draw.
So in
to advance from the group stage.
In Group B, we have South Africa, Tunisia. Let's go to pot 2. In pot 2, we have Nigeria.
Yeah.
Cameroon.
Yeah.
Mali.
Yeah.
Burkina Faso,
Yeah.
Ghana, and the DRC. So let me give you my own idea. DRC is a team you don't know where they sleep. You might find them in a very good day or a bad day. You find them in a bad day, you are out. So that's what I'm very, very scared. I wouldn't like to be playing against a team like that, especially for me, Christophe Bongo, who born in DRC and a South African. I don't want to be in that stadium, so I won't take DRC.
Nigeria is very tricky for South Africa.
Nigeria is always a bad story for South Africa. We cannot put ourselves there and say we can play Nigeria. It's always bad.
I think the Ghana they have now, you can actually try and take on the Ghana.
No, Ghana is always a bad story with us. Either it is a referee or it is a team. So, by the way, we are creating a group for South Africa. South Africa is in the Group B. We selected South Africa Group B. And then the first team we selected, it is Tunisia, we say, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking for a second team. So the second team, who are you going with? Me, I will go with Mali.
I'm torn between Mali and DR Congo.
You want DR Congo in South Africa group?
I'm torn between Mali and DR Congo.
No.
If you look at the qualifiers itself and also look at the history between the nations, Burkina Faso is always a tricky affair.
If you talk about qualifier, please don't put DRC, because DRC, they lost the first 2 games, and from there on, they won the remaining games to qualify. So they went unbeaten from there on. So,
But you know why I say DR
don't
Congo?
think of don't think of the friendly they played.
No. I'm not talking about a friend. I'm talking about why I'm saying DR Congo. I'm saying DR Congo from the point of view that, if you look at the group they were sitting in, and I think that group was a very tricky group.
Yes.
Because everybody just wanted to stay there until the last match. That is why DR Congo qualified on the last day.
Therefore,
had they lost on the last day, they wouldn't have been here.
Okay. So Brian is going for Tunisia, DRC, South Africa.
Yes.
Let's just give people the idea who is in the pot three with South Africa. It is South Africa, Cape Verde,
yeah,
Guinea,
yeah,
Zambia,
yeah.
Equatorial Guinea, and Mauritania.
Yeah.
Mauritania, they grew in their football. What happened?
As South Africa.
You were there.
Yeah. When they won against South Africa twice.
I think it was the first time and the only time you saw Vilakazi scoring a goal.
Yep.
And you jumped from the commentary was saying, but why Brian is so excited about How was the trip to Mauritania?
Chris, you know sometimes what I love about traveling in a beautiful continent of ours is that you don't know the beauty of other countries until you get there.
Yeah.
And you don't know the hospitality part of it, the humility. And when you get there and you realize just how people are so welcome. And you hear yourself South Africa, it's like, wow, Mandela's country. People are so excited to bring you there and to welcome you to the country. But boy, we didn't know what to expect.
The stadium was packed.
We were not ready for what we saw that day. Because they came as South Africa like bees going towards honey. Like bees going towards mother, bees sitting in the middle.
African, they love their football.
They just went at South Africa. I mean, the fans were crazy in the stadium. And because of that, mistakes were made.
Yeah.
We lost the game. And they returned to South Africa. They just showed that there was no fluke. And
What was the score in Mauritania? Just
4-1.
4-1. Yeah, Vilakazi scored.
No, I still remember. I don't remember who scored, but I remember that it was a 4-1, the scoreline in that game between South Africa and Mauritania. For me, it was a game that I always sit back and say, we just never did our homework.
I mean, before we continue the conversation, most of your trip in the continent, which country did you enjoy visiting?
Depending on what?
No. As a commentator, I'm talking about.
Okay.
For you, it was all about the stadium, getting the stadium.
Yeah.
And I still remember the last trip I was away. It was in Ethiopia. I was the guest of Ethiopian Football Association, and it was a game that we scored the most beautiful goal against ourselves.
Do you want to go back to that one?
No. Okay, listen. Before we forget, so let's go. The last sport. The last sport, it is a sport that they believe teams are not good enough.
Yeah.
But hey, don't take it lightly.
The game was 3-1, by the way, Chris Bongo. Yeah, it was 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah, 3-1 on the 5th of September.
Yeah.
Yeah, South Africa, it was Tamsanqa Kabuza who scored
Kabuza
scored a goal.
Kabuza.
Abate scored a goal. Bagili as well as Ahmed scored a goal on the day. That's how we lost that game. In the return leg, I still remember we played a 1-0 draw in that game. It was a goal from Brahlompo. Hlompo Kekana scored a scorcher again.
As usual.
It was not good enough. We eventually...
we have to make a show about all the goals that he has scored. Amazing. Okay, pot 4.
Yeah.
Who should we choose in that group? We have Angola from Southern Africa. We have Tanzania. We have Namibia. Please don't even think about saying Namibia. I've seen Namibia knocking out the crane last AFCON. So you should not even think about saying. We have Mozambique.
Yeah.
And we have Gambia. What I'm seeing here, we have a lot of Southern African teams. So playing against your neighbors is always difficult. So who are you going to go with here?
I would say Mozambique would be a better team to choose.
You think Mozambique is weaker than Tanzania?
Tanzania is very strong, Chris. They've improved.
Do you think Mozambique is
No. I'm not saying
better than Tanzania?
I'm saying that South Africa will know more about Mozambique than would know about Tanzania.
Okay.
So they'll actually have more to do, and they'll know how to play against a Mozambican team than a Guinea-Bissau or a Gambia or a Tanzania for that matter.
We will put our WhatsApp number in this podcast. Please send us your group. We selected that South Africa will be in a group B, and then we will be with Mozambique, Tunisia,
And
DR Congo. So what do you think? Select your own group for South Africa. This is bias show. We are South Africans, so we are only looking at South Africa. So in general, is African Cup of Nations still a #1 African prime tournament?
Without a doubt, Chris. Without a doubt. I still feel that, when you hear the Western talking about it's going to happen in January, so we won't have, most of the players won't be available for us to play in Europe. Whoever questions whenever there's a tournament being played in Europe or in South America or in Americans, so African Cup of Nations, it is the pride of the continent.
Do you think it's because, for me, when they complain about African players coming back, it's because Africa is becoming a leading force of exporting players?
Yes.
So that we should take pride in that.
It is that, #1, but #2 is the fact that African calendar does not go with the rest of the world's calendar.
Our calendar should not go with anybody.
Exactly.
It is our calendar, so we should keep
when
it.
you sign an African player, you need to be ready with the fact that they will play in AFCON in January.
But when you need him for you to win the league, you have to.
But I know that this was supposed to, the reason why we're playing this AFCON now in January is because of the weather conditions. In Cote d'Ivoire in June, July, you will never be able to play football.
Brian, they give us extra 5 minutes, and that extra 5 minutes it is to talk about two things. #1, Dr. Motsepe, the president of CAF, came with an idea, which is now reality, of having 1, the qualifiers to be regional. 2, AFCON must circulate around the continent, basically a rotation. How do you find those ideas and the application thereafter? And 3 to 5, from 0 to 5, where are you ranking Patrice Motsepe?
I will say first of all, when he moved from being the president of Sundowns to start a campaign to be part of CAF, I was listen. I was happy from a business.
Doubters.
No, I was happy.
Doubter.
I was happy from a business point of view. I was not sure from a football point of view.
We're doubters.
We're all thinking, how is he going to make this happen? Especially because his main campaign was focused on women's football.
Yes,
that was his main campaign. And we thought that the resistance around the continent when it comes to women's football has always been there. How is he going to manage to win that? That was #1. But boy, oh boy, we're not ready for what's going to happen. Because #1, since he took over, let's start with the women's football side, point of view, first of all. The introduction of the CAF Women's African Cup of Nations. Champions League first.
Champions League first.
The prize increase in the women's WAFCON, The
qualifiers.
150% increase for prize money.
The qualifiers.
The qualifiers coming up. And then also now,
the club licensing now as well.
The club licensing rules
changing.
To say now you cannot be part of a men team or a male team that participate in CAF competitions unless you have a female team, which is very important because if you want to raise the game, you need to bring the women game at professional level.
Of course.
So that's one of the
things. You cannot leave 51% of your population behind and they think you will develop. That's what Africa has been doing for a long time.
That's another thing to talk about. And we also seen the regional qualifiers for me, Chris. Why I love that so much is because when you look at the strong regions, your north and west will always be strong. Central is coming up very strongly, and the east is making massive inroads. SADC has always been sitting there, but they found themselves playing matches against the north and the west a lot of times and getting knocked out very quickly. But then what he does now with the regional qualifiers, it means the best team or the best country from your region will therefore advance and play against the best in other regions.
And the AFCON hosting?
So you have you've got 6 regions in Africa. You have the WAFU A, WAFU B, which is the 2 split of the western side. You got the Sekafa region, which is the eastern side. Then you got the UNIFAC region, which is the central part of
Africa.
Then you have the SADC region and the north region. But you always, if you look at previous tournaments, you used to find so many west and so many north and probably 1 or 2 from the other regions. Now you're going to have a lot more numbers. Let's talk now, you spoke about the rotation. The rotation. The rotation is very important. Morocco last hosted the AFCON tournament in 1988. They're now going to host the next AFCON tournament. Somebody might say, but Egypt just hosted recently, but it was not Morocco.
Egypt hosted it because Tunisia did not want to host.
But also, which I'm finding very interesting, and I believe this is very important, is the fact that Guinea was supposed to host the next one. Remember,
Yes, yeah.
they had their own problem, hence
Yeah.
Morocco got it.
Yeah.
But what is very important, it is the support of Morocco for football.
It's
because
massive.
how many
Massive.
events CAF has actually hosted
Actually,
with Morocco brokering the money for that to happen and doing so much more. And there's no better time, Chris, than now to let Morocco host, because at the moment euphoria is around Moroccan football.
If I let you
as
talk
a whole.
about African football, you won't stop. So you are happy with the rotation that
I'm very happy.
the Eastern Africa, the 3 countries, they're going to host
Oh,
the
that's
2027.
that for me is the most exciting
It'll be
thing.
beautiful. Morocco
You know,
2025.
You asked me about the best place I've been to, Ethiopia, when Bernard Parker scored their own goal.
Beautiful goal.
But the way we're treated in Ethiopia, second to none. In Kenya, loved it as well in Kenya. Uganda is there. Looking forward to that.
I can't wait for the next bias show. We are post-South African in this show. So until next time, Brian, I have to say goodbye to you. But don't forget, subscribe. Send us the WhatsApp. Go to our Twitter account and keep this conversation going on. Until then, I say au revoir.
Hola.